Um, all right, so all right, for sure. Um, hey, thank you for being here tonight. This is part one of four webinars that we're going to do, CCC staff. And today, my hope is to cover three things really. Number one is to give you an update on how the coronavirus is impacting the college process for your class specifically. And then the second thing is I want to help y'all to figure out how to create a college list, a healthy college list. And then the third thing is to stress the importance of staying organized during this entire process. Like I mentioned a couple seconds ago, we do have some seniors who will be sharing their wisdom and their fresh experience. That'll come a little bit later. But before we start, I also wanted to give a shout out to our friends who are joining from CVLCC, I believe. So my best friend from college, he's a teacher in San Diego, and his some of his juniors are also on this call. Um, so this is a big family thing, and I just wanted to say what up to you guys. Shout out. Um, so this process is going to be a little bit different for your class of 2021, um, and just in regards to the pandemic and everything. Um, I want to say sorry that you have to go through this hurdle as well as the college application process because it's already not easy. But I want you all to know that you have resources and we're here for you. You got a team. So let's get going. Yeah. All right. So for those of you who do go to Berkeley High, let me reintroduce you to the team in the College and Career Center, which is the office I work out of. So um, we are so privileged at Berkeley High to have a entire department dedicated to the college and career needs of all of our high school students. Usually it's juniors and seniors that utilize it, but here's the full team. From left to right, we got Mr. James Dotman, our career advisor. We have Ms. Sandberg, who's now retired. And then we have the two college counselors, Ms. Jennifer Hammond and myself. So basically what me and Ms. Hammond do is we split the juniors and seniors in half, and then we take one half for our caseload. And then we have our amazing administrative assistant, Miss Jacobs. And I also want to give a shout out because she's on this call right now. So if you have any questions that come up, feel free to chat it in, and then she will help me to answer those questions live. And any of the questions that remain, we'll hit up during the Q&A section at the way in. And then last but definitely not least, we have Miss Julia Maciel, who is our college advisor fellow from a program called EAOP DCAC, and that is a college access program straight out of UC Berkeley. So in the CCC, what we do is the workshops, the presentations, the college essay reading, and hosting the college representatives that come in the fall. And we're crossing our fingers that they'll still be coming this fall, and that's part of their travel plans. Um, we also house the fee waivers and scholarships as well in the CCC. All right, moving on. Hey, there's Ms. Jacobs. All right, for sure. So tonight's presentation, I kind of already said this, but we're going to talk about coronavirus and the ongoing implications that it has on the college app process. And then we're going to talk about what factors you should be looking at when you're making your college list, as well as what are some virtual resources that you can utilize right now at home during quarantine to research those schools. And then I'm also going to give you some tools to organize all those like layers of requirements and deadlines for those colleges that you eventually add onto your list. And the seniors will be able to tell you what worked, what didn't, in regards to organization. And of course, this is like a big thing for all of us, but we want y'all to know that you have resources. So your first thing is you got to identify them and then be comfortable with reaching out. And that's not always easy, but I encourage you to do that. Know your resources and your supports. At BHI, obviously your staff, your families, your older friends, right, that have already gone through this, and then of course us in the CCC. And then at the end of this, we'll talk a little bit about what the other webinars are going to look like and what the summer is going to look like for you. Cool. All right. So before we get into anything, I wanted to just really quickly take a deep breath because if you look at this entire process at one sitting, it can be very overwhelming. So let me just give you a simplified outline from now until next May. So imagine yourself 1 year from now, right? May 2021, you're gonna be a senior closing out on your high school career, and you're gonna be that much closer to like entering a really exciting decade of your life, which is your 20s. And for a lot of you, college will be part of your plans, whether it's community or 4 year, and you'll know where you're gonna be going at least for the next year. And so that's a really exciting place to be. So have that image, have that like positive um, thing to look forward to while you grind this year out. So let's come back to now. So right now it's May 2020. And I would say this is a perfect month for you to start researching and to create a college list. Obviously that college list is going to change. Not obviously, but it could. So let's just say it's like a rough draft of a list. So this is a month to research and to create that college list. A lot of the questions that came in the RSVPs was about how many colleges should be applying to, and how many safeties and reaches. We're going to cover that in the next slide, but know that I did read those questions. In June and July, those are the months where you really want to be proactive and be drafting essays, especially during shelter in place. And in parentheses, I wrote if required, because we know that not all colleges require essays. If you have at least one UC or one private college on the Common App, you're going to know off bat that you're going to be writing essays because the UCs require them, as do the Common App colleges, like the private schools. August is when the Common App opens, right? So that's when you're going to create your account. Actually, take a look at what that website looks like. And again, the Common App has most of your private colleges and a lot of out of state schools. UC is going to have its own website, and Cal State's going to have its own website as well. So by September, fingers crossed, we're going to be in the swing of things at Behi, and you're going to be in your senior year. That's when we're going to be, us in the CCC, we're going to be in full swing, and we really want y'all to start visiting us at least on a weekly basis. Come to our workshops that we host during the day and after school. Come meet the college reps that come to our CCC to visit and talk and to present, and also meet with our college essay readers. So September is the time to really do the actual work, and you'll be fully supported through the workshops. October is a really big month, and it is going to get a little hectic starting in October. But October is when the Cal State and the UC applications open up. The Cal State and the UC applications are going to be heavily used by Berkeley High seniors, and I'm sure at CVLCC too, because these are really popular options for California students. Not only are our public universities like top notch, but for the most part, they're pretty affordable, at least compared to some of the other private school out of state schools. Um, um, yeah, so that's Cal State's and UC. So the other thing that happens in October is the FAFSA and the DREAM Act open. So these are the financial aid applications that all students applying to college are going to fill out. So the FAFSA is the general one for federal aid, and it's free to apply. And then the DREAM Act is going to be basically FAFSA, but specifically and exclusively for undocumented students. So if you're undocumented, instead of FAFSA, you're going to do the DREAM Act. And we will have support in the CCC for you to complete those things. We're going to have workshops. And we also have like an evening where we, bring in families and get pizza and stuff and fill these out. So I don't want to overwhelm you with the financial aid part just yet. So go ahead and just put that in the back of your mind and know that it's going to happen and you're going to take care of it. You're going to be supported, and know that for those applications, your family will need to come up with their 2019 tax transcripts. So 2019's tax transcripts. November is probably the busiest month in this timeline. That's when most of the early applications are due. We'll talk about early apps in the Q&A, but I put an asterisk here because early apps are not only due in November, but sometimes in October, but mostly in November. The end of November is also when the Cal State and UC applications are due, right? So 11/30. And these dates, we're going off what's historically been true. We have yet to see if coronavirus will change any of these dates, but I'm pretty sure they'll keep it consistent. But it is a little too early to say, like, for sure. December is that last stretch. You start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You also get a nice break, a 2 week break, and hopefully you'll be able to do something for yourself to recharge during that break. But December is when you finish up your regular decision applications for your private schools. And then in January, February is when you turn those things in, right? And then by then, there's a nice lull. And then of course your teachers at Berkeley High, they're gonna still want you to take your senior year seriously. So there's a myth that like senior year second semester is gonna be like super chill, but that's not always the case. You want to stay awake, you know. um, March and May is a really fun time because not only is a community college portal open for our community college students, but it's also when decisions for our of emotions once decisions come out. And it's just a simple word of advice is to keep your decisions to yourself, right? And know that wherever you do end up, fall 2021 is where you're always meant to be. And so, personally, I didn't get into my dream school, and I did take some time to feel sorry for myself. But once I did some introspection, I realized I was coming from a place of arrogance and entitlement. And as soon as I accepted, like, I was where I was, um, and I became peace with that, I became a lot happier. So just look out for that. It's gonna be a bittersweet time, but be ready to embrace the outcome and be flexible with the outcome. And obviously, test prep is going to be ongoing for those of us taking the test. And you'll find out soon enough that that's going to be a different conversation for the class of 2021 because of Corona, because of COVID-19. All right. So this is a slide where we talk a little bit about COVID-19 and its impact. And I've definitely listened in on a lot of podcasts and read a lot of articles about how colleges are handling things. But what I do want y'all to know is that things are still changing and materializing. So the stuff on this page is kind of preliminary. It's not permanent. And I think by June, we'll have a better picture of the permanent kind of like policy changes for this cycle. First thing I want to say is that the colleges will be understanding because this pandemic is a universal experience. It's shared by everybody, right? So the other thing that is important in college applications is you got to explain your context, right? Anything that you don't tell your colleges in your applications in the form of essays, written responses, or even an email is a missed opportunity. So I know sometimes it's uncomfortable and it feels like bragging, but that's something that I think all seniors do have to kind of get over and be comfortable with talking about yourself and your context. And that your context can include your personal background, academics, family background, financial situations. Like that stuff's hard to talk about, but not doing so is doing a disservice to you and your application. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is testing. So as we know, or as you've probably heard, a lot of school systems and individual schools are opting to be test optional. And that's just a fancy way of saying they don't require the SAT or the ACT anymore. That doesn't mean you don't have to take it if you were already preparing and you had that momentum. I would actually say go ahead and take it probably just once. I wouldn't take it more than once this cycle, um, because a strong score, right, can only add to your application, but an absent score will be neutral, right? So if you can muster up a strong score, then that will only be a positive. But if you feel maybe not so confident, then instead of using that time to test prep, go ahead and use that time for your essays. Let me show you real quick a website. So this is called Fair Test, and you can just Google it. And they update this pretty frequently. So they updated this yesterday, right? May 4th, 2020. And so this list has all of the colleges that are test optional, like I said, the ones that don't require it. And so if you click state, it'll organize it by, oh man, computer's kind of laggy. All right. It'll organize it in alphabetical order. So let's go to California, because I mean, man, we got the best schools, right? And all of these schools in California are test optional, right? So you can see that the Cal States were added, right? Because that happened recently. Yep. And then the UCs as well. Where are the UCs at? There we go. The UCs, right? So all of those are test optional now, and you can go ahead and use this list as kind of like one supplement in your college research. process. The second thing is grades. This is going to be really hard on the part of admissions because I think like almost half of public high schools in America went pass no pass, right? Just like Berkeley High, we went pass no pass, which means this past semester when the pandemic broke out, um, instead of giving letter grades, we're pretty much just saying you get the credit for that class or not. So you're not gonna lose out on the credit. And right now I'm referring to the A through G's, right? We covered that in our junior presentation, so I'm not gonna dig into it. But by passing your classes, you'll still get the credit that you need, but the grade that you were supposed to get won't be counted into your college application GPA. Now, for a lot of people, that's not the best news because maybe you were projected to get really good grades or you were on the up. So even more the reason for you to explain that context in your written portions of your application, and also even more reason to focus on things like the extracurriculars and the essays. I'm just gonna predict. I'm just like from where I'm sitting, I think the essays are gonna be a huge part of this application cycle, right? Um, what do they want to know in those essays? We're gonna cover it in like 3 webinars from now, but they want to know like your love for learning, your insight like on who you are and like your surroundings, and also your place in this larger world that is shared right with other people. um, I've also read that the Common App, which is one of the websites that you may be working out of, is going to add a section possibly where you can write about specifically your COVID experience, right? And I think that if they do open that up, it would be a good time to talk about your personal COVID experience in there rather than your actual essay. Because unless your COVID experience is like super unique or um, like absolutely integral to your identity, it's going to be a pretty common essay, I think, for like other juniors or rising seniors to be writing about. So go ahead and keep your COVID stuff in that COVID section if it does come to be. The UCs already have a additional section, written section, where you can talk about that too. But we'll cover that next week in the UC webinar. Um, some other updates that's going to happen is, and this is not like a not so good one, but for your class, there's going to be a decrease in opportunities to visit the campuses. Right, this summer would have been a pretty awesome time for you to drive to a college and just walk around the campus and feel like how it is when you're just standing there and like talking to people. But um, but that's not going to happen. But we will share some virtual resources that will obviously not like replace that, but will do its best. The other thing that's going to change, and this is pretty unfortunate, is that the financial situations of a lot of our families are going to change from when the pandemic broke out until when we apply to colleges. And so, again, that's an important reason why you should be explaining your context, right? So, earlier I said in your financial aid applications, we're going to look at 2019 taxes. But let's say in 2020, things really changed. That's when you would update your colleges, right, with your financial situation. That comes a little bit later on, but just know that you're allowed to do that, right? What you'll learn in this college process is that you have the ability to email your college's representative, right? That's in charge of like your high school or your area. And those emails are going to be your main line of communication with those schools that you're applying to. Even if COVID-19 wasn't happening, the truth that a lot of seniors learn in this process is that there are things that you cannot control, that you cannot control. And then there are things that you can. So for example, you can control how productive you are this summer and how proactive you are with your essays. You can't control how people behave and how the curve for the COVID thing is going to materialize. So let's just focus on what we can control. So when you're thinking about creating your college list, and I've been meeting with a lot of juniors like virtually, and this is pretty much the main question they have is like, how do I create my college list? I don't know where to apply to. I want to say there are probably like 3, 4, 5 factors that most seniors look at. The first thing is obviously academics. So if you know what you want to study, that's a huge That's a huge help in terms of like setting your parameters. Um, so the strength of that department at the school, and I'll show you in a little bit what websites I use to look that up. Students also look at school culture, right? Like there's a difference between a school that's very academically competitive, some might even say cutthroat, versus a school that is a little bit more laid back and collaborative, right? Some students thrive in the first and others thrive in the second. School culture could also include like the presence of D1 sports, right? Like that lively energy, Greek life, or even if it's like important to you, like fun, like party life. But obviously, you're not there for that. You're there to get an education. But that is like a viable thing to be researching. And then this is the thing that I use the most when I was looking at colleges is where it's located, because where a college is located will have a lot of impact on its identity and also like on the opportunities for professional things like internships, but also to try. Um, and then probably the most important thing is the financial aspect, like the affordability of the school. Uh, that's going to look different for every family. But like I said before, more often than not, the UCs and the Cal States end up being the more affordable option for a lot of seniors. So um, definitely consider adding the Cal States or the UCs in your college list. So right now, how do I research colleges during quarantine when I can't like visit or stuff? There's a bunch of things that you can do. First, let's start with the virtual resources, and I want to give a quick shout out to Berkeley High Junior Olivia Fowler, because she helped me actually come up with these websites she put me on. So the first thing is called UVisit, and I'll show you actually what it looks like. Okay, here we go. So UVisit's a website that you could hold up. I'm gonna mute this because it's gonna be hell loud. It's a website that gives you virtual tours of the college that you're looking at. Obviously, like this is only one layer of exploring your college, but it there's something about like seeing the physical like layout of a school, and yeah, so like green, sunshine, cultural celebration, like you can kind of get a sense of it, you know. And then they also have this cool like 360. Oh, he's hella loud. Sorry, I'm just gonna mute him. So you can like look around, explore the different campuses. I just picked UC Irvine randomly, but they have I think pretty much most colleges on here. Um, Imagine yourself here, you know, like ooh, see what the school looks like. And you do this with a bunch of schools, you're going to realize like, you know, all college campuses for the most part are pretty nice. But there's something about seeing the architecture and like just like the sunshine and the trees and nature that like help you to feel like this is a very near reality for you. And it's really exciting to be able to do this. Um, so yeah, the UCs, I don't know, for the most part look pretty similar, at least to me, maybe minus a couple of them. But you start looking at like private schools and out of state schools, you'll start to see like architecture is a little different, and obviously it won't be as blue because this is in SoCal. So that's UVisit. The next one is Campus Rio. Only thing about this school, I mean this website, is you have to create an account, which I did. Um, let's see. Let's do a school in San Diego. So the difference between this website and the one before is that it these are, I think these are like student content, student based content. So it's kids who go to those schools that are creating these like kind of mini tours. And the reason why I like this one is because they're gonna give you like the real. Like when you go on SCSU's website, I know for a fact they're not gonna show this dorm as like their catalog stock photo, right? They're gonna kind of like upsell it. But this guy, his name is Isaiah Cox right here. He's gonna show you what like the dorms really look like. I'm pretty sure that's his dorm, right? So he'll talk about like laundry, what the dorm situation is, and I think they also talk about like meal plans. Yeah, there we go. So he'll talk about like the little things like that. I probably wouldn't um, get into like the details like meal plan until like I have my list because like that's just a lot of work. But I think that's a cool resource. Um, I think would be a cool idea is actually to like follow the schools on social media that you're hoping to apply to. And this was just a real estate public school in Colorado. And like you check your Instagram on a daily, and if like the more I guess college related content you see, the more you can get excited about like that that's gonna be your near future, like less in like a year. So see what these different colleges are posting about. They posted a COVID-19 update, the different kind of like quirks of each school. I think that's a really cool thing. And then lastly, YouTube is a really good one too. That's the one I used when I was applying to colleges. I would just Google like the school's name and like campus tour. And nowadays, because everyone's like hyped up on drone footage, you can type in like the college name and then like drone tour. So this was a YouTube video that I found like a couple years back of my alma mater. Shout out UCSD, and also Mr. Lou's alma mater. My friend who's a teacher at CVLCC, who's streaming this on his Twitch for his high school students, juniors, rising seniors. And we actually met here, even though we went to the same high school. We went to a big high school. We didn't know each other in high school. We were roommates, best friends. And like I told you, um, UCSD was not my first pick. Um, but as soon as I got like over my, like feeling sorry for myself, like I found so much beauty in the school. I found a best friend in Mr. Liu. I found my wife to be in Lucia. And like beyond the educational part, the 4 years or the 2 and 2 if you do community transfer of college offers so much for you going into your adult life beyond academics. You just learn so much by being in that environment. So yeah, they're definitely like upselling the beach thing for UCSD. Obviously they should because it's gorgeous. But okay, it's kind of dizzy. But all right, so basically, yeah, go ahead and use YouTube for as part of your research. All right, let's see. So earlier I told you there's a couple other websites you can use. Obviously, the individual university's website is a good one, as is College Board, Big Future. But my personal favorite is Niche. I think just because of the way it like looks. Um, wait, can you guys see my screen, by the way? Can you guys see me on Google? Yes. Thanks, Mia. Thanks, Claire. Jordan. Jordan, you can't see my screen? I think I'm screen sharing it. Oh, yes. Perfect. All right, cool. So go ahead and just Google niche, right? Let me just show you what the website, oh, shoot. All right, what the website looks like. It's like very simple and I like it like that. So I'm gonna put myself in my shoes 10 years ago or like 11 years ago when I was applying to high school. So I thought I wanted to do poli sci, and I knew I wanted to stay in California. So if I were me back then, I would type in uh, best California colleges for poli sci and then the word niche. Okay, so I click that, and then the first link that comes up is 2020 best California colleges for poli sci. So I wanted to stay in Cali because I wanted that in-state tuition, and I wasn't ready to like go out of state. I wasn't that adventurous, and I thought I wanted to do poli sci. So I'm going to go ahead and click this link. And off the bat, um, I wasn't academically the strongest student. I was probably mid-tier, but I had solid extracurriculars. So I know that a school like Stanford or Pomona with a single-digit acceptance rate would be a hyper reach for me. And for me, I wasn't even interested in those kind of like highly prestigious schools. So what I would do is scroll down to selectivity, and instead of clicking extremely selective, I would probably click like very selective and just regular selective, right? Um, so here's a list of schools that where their acceptance rates are a little bit higher, right? So I'm looking for target schools at this point. And so the difference between a safety school and a reach school is that it's like the they're different for every person. So that's a safety school. You want at least two safety schools on your list. As far as target and reach go, you can have as many as you're willing to do the work for. Because remember, the more schools you have, possibly the more essays you have to write. So target schools are just kind of how it sounds. Schools that like it's kind of a toss up. You have a chance, but if you don't get in, you're not like hella shocked. And then reach schools are the schools that like are under 30%, under 25% acceptance rates, where like a lot of people are going for the schools, but we all know in reality not everyone can get in. They're very selective, they're very picky, and definitely don't base your value or your self-worth in getting in or not getting into those schools, because you're just setting yourself up. So I've set my parameters for poli sci, California, and my selectivity to very and selective, because I'm kind of confident in myself, but not like super confident. So the first school that comes up is Scripps. That's an all women's school, so I'm automatically ineligible to apply. Santa Clara is a private school in the Bay, right? And so here we go with the pretty decent acceptance rate. So before adding that to my list, I'm gonna do the research. I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm gonna go on Campus Rio and UVisit. I'm gonna go onto the niche page for Santa Clara. I'm gonna look at the numbers that they present. It's a D1 school, but without football. But I still like that it's D1 because then I can watch D1 basketball. Um, I'll look at some of the numbers. I like that student faculty ratio, 11-1. That's pretty solid. And I'll look at the majors that they have, but we already know they're pretty solid at poli sci. And then also on this website, they give you the number of uh, um, enrolled undergrads. So 5,000. That's like a little less than double Berkeley High. I can do that. That sounds like a decent size. And then some adjectives that describe the students that go there and the school as well. And then my personal favorite two things is that it suggests other schools that are like them, and then also student reviews. So take these reviews with a grain of salt, because they're just individual reports. So um, yeah. So let's say I do all that and it checks out. Santa Clara checks my boxes and I like it. I'll go ahead and add that to my list, and I would feel pretty confident that that would be a safety school. And then UCSD, right? Let's say I did my research and I liked it, and I did like enough to add to my college list. I will add that. But because the acceptance rate is a little bit lower, that would be a target, a target to probably a soft reach. And then I just go down the list, add these colleges to like a preliminary list, and then just kind of like research each one. You don't have to do this alone, because like there's plenty of uh, resources like alumni from your school that you can link up with through social media, or just like your older friends who are current seniors right now, class of 2020, that you can reach out to. And for those of you at Berkeley High, you have Ms. Hammond, myself, Ms. Jacobs, all of us in the CCC to email and to communicate with, especially right now. Not only is checking your email important, but being comfortable with sending out emails, right, to reach out for help. So that's how I would utilize niche. That's my kind of my starting website for that, for exploring colleges. I just talked a little bit about like human resources, right? In addition to your virtual resources, you're gonna have hopefully family to talk to about this stuff. My parents or my family they're immigrants, so like they didn't know anything about this process, but my older sister, my older sister did. So like I talked to her, my older cousin, um, and then obviously older friends at your school, BHS or CVLCC, you can head up to talk to. Um, and if you want the contact of an alumni at a specific college, for those of you at Beehi, go ahead and reach out to your college counselor, Ms. Hammond or me, to be like, oh, I'm really interested in like UC Irvine's like creative writing program. Do you know anyone who goes there or possibly is in that program? And then we'll look up to see if there are any students that we can connect you with. At Berkeley High, you got your CCC, your teachers, your staff, and then obviously it's kind of cheesy, but you guys have each other. Um, Class of 2020 did an excellent job of like boosting each other up and not tearing each other down. And that is sometimes a problem, right? So I want to charge you all 21 with being kind to each other. Don't overshare about your personal college like process stuff, but like be there for each other and celebrate with each other. All right, so a couple cute little pictures. Um, you see Santa Cruz, very green, very foresty. I think this is UCSD. Yeah, the beach near UCSD. All right, this is probably like our last like big slide, and then we'll get into Q&A, and also the seniors will talk. But throughout this process, it'll be so important for you to stay organized. And whether it's for you, if that's opening a notes document on your phone and like putting all these things there, that's fine if that's right for you. But personally, I love seeing it out on like a spreadsheet. So I actually created like a mock spreadsheet that I'll show you in a second. But the columns, right, for the spreadsheet that you should organize is obviously the name of the college. Some other things to think about are the deadlines and dates. Dates are plural because sometimes colleges have unique dates. Like if you're applying early, then you're going to be applying, or you're going to have to turn your application in before most other students. Some places have like special financial aid related deadlines, like scholarship deadlines. Like for example, USC and LA is one where um, thanks, Daphne. Uh, you got to make for USC the regular deadline is January 1, but if you want to be eligible for their scholarships, then you got to turn it in by December 1. So that's just one example of a special date. Another column that you should add into your little spreadsheet is, do they need letters of rec or not, and if so, how many? And then is testing required? Now that's going to be unique this year because for the most part testing is going to be not required. I'm going to predict by the end of summer, no college should require testing, or I'm going to tell my students not to apply to them because they just don't get it, right? If they're going to go test required, then they obviously don't get, they're not sensitive to what's going on, and like um, um, how like inequitable that would be. Also, the essay requirements would be huge, right? So that's going to be a column in of itself. So before we get the seniors on, let me just show you what I made real quick. Let me delete some of these things real quick. All right, boom. So this is like a mock spreadsheet of what I created. Very simplified, but it gets the job done. This was actually my college list. I had to like think back in my memory, and these are the schools that I applied to. You can see a bunch of UCs, 3 Cal States, and then a couple private colleges. Where are they located? In my mind at the time, those were my, for me, and this is subjective, but my safety schools, and I felt good about, excited about going to them. Um, and then the deadline dates, and then there's USC special little deadline for the scholarships, the requirements for recs, testing, and then essays. So see how that works. Looking back, I probably had no business applying to Pomona, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with shooting your shot, especially if you feel like you have something to say, you have a story to tell. Yeah. Let's see, why else did I bring up these tabs? Oh, let me show you 2 websites that I like in terms of uh, keeping up to date with like coronavirus impact on college applications. I would not read the like Times kind of websites, like news media based websites, because a lot of times they have an angle, or like some kind of message to send. Um, Rather, I would look at the 2 websites that are very neutral. So the first one is NACAC. So NACAC is the National Association for College Admission Counseling, and this is where we, the school counselors and the college counselors, get our updates from. So I would rather look at this because it's just like neutral, factual news. And the other website is Inside Inside Higher Ed. So these are the 2 websites that I kind of just like read time to time to stay updated on, like on this side of stuff. And you all are more than welcome to do that too. Also, I don't know why I have this up, but this is what the Common App looks like. Yeah, there it is. You won't need to create an account till August, but just know that's what it looks like. And then if you want to know how UC has changed things, UCs, right? Um, I'll send this link out in the email, the post presentation email, but they have like a frequently asked questions for like their updated policies, right? We talked about test optional, we talked about the pass no pass thing, but they have it here too. And then the Cal States have their version of that as well. All right, so before we get the seniors up, real quick, um, next next week, same time, it's gonna be a little different. It's gonna be very like specific. We're gonna look at what the UC application is gonna look like what you should do to prepare. We'll talk a little bit about the essays, but we're gonna cover the essays in detail in webinar number 4, where I'll be co-hosting with Ms. Hammond. And then the second half of next week is gonna be like an alumni panel. I'll probably talk way less, and then Berkeley High alumni at each of the UC campuses will talk a little bit about their specific school, their experiences so far, and what led them to choose that school. And they'll give you like the real pros and cons. Um, I have an alumni for pretty much every campus, but I'm still working on 1 or 2. But hopefully by then I'll have one for each. And then after the seniors talk, we'll do a Q&A, and I'll stick around till 8:30, and then I gotta go chill. But let's go ahead and bring up the seniors. So let's see. We got Abril, Daphne, Gabe, and where's Kiana? Let me find Kiana. There she is. Unmute. Uh, and co-host. All right, so let's go ahead and start with Abril. Um, Abril, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience when it comes to creating your college list, how you stayed organized, and any other just general tips, please?
All right. Hi, everyone. So for me, I unfortunately didn't start early. Like my junior year, I started actually my senior year creating my college list. But something that I did was what Mr. On mentioned, creating the safety schools, my target and my reach schools. And what I did was I used websites like Niche and then just asking my teachers like advice on like what schools they thought seems fit for me like from previous like students. And also I just asked for a lot of help in regards to like alumni. Like I asked about their experiences if they were interested in things that I wanted to do as well. And that's pretty much what I did in regards to my college list. And what was the other question, Mr. On?
Like, how did you stay organized? Because like, there's hella things to track, right?
Oh yeah. So I am the type of person that gets very stressed out if things are not in its place. So I created a lot of spreadsheets and like that's something that I totally recommend because it definitely kept to me like on top of everything. So just make sure you have like I separated my things by like states, privates, and UCs, and then like deadlines, and just marking everything as I went by. Like, for example, like state schools, if you want to apply for their EOP program, there's a specific deadline before the application overall is due. So just making sure and like Googling things or asking like your counselors about questions about specific deadlines for programs. So if you want to do like an honors program in a school that they offer, that's also important to do research and like check their deadlines because it differs from the actual day that the whole application is due. So I just created spreadsheets and I was involved in a lot of programs like Avid and Y Scholars that helped me just keep everything organized. So that's pretty much what I did.
Thanks, bro. Thank you for your time too. um, hey, who's next? Let's pull up Daphne. Daphne. So same questions, like, and Daphne's situation was a little bit different, and I'll let you speak on it, because she was applying to art programs, specifically in music. So how did you come up with your list, and how did you stay organized?
Yeah, so it was easier for me because I knew like what I was focused on. So it really narrowed down my college options to like only music schools or only schools that were good with good music programs. So going into senior year, the summer of junior year, I put together a list like you were talking about earlier with like criteria that I knew was important for me besides the program and music. So like I knew I wanted a big school. I knew I didn't care if it was like East Coast, West Coast, international. And I knew it had to be good for music. So I used Common App because that you told me that the schools on Common App you can apply to for free if you're qualified for free and reduced lunch. So that's a really good thing that was helpful. And then I also used that other one that you were saying, niche, whatever. That one was good because it has like not only ratings about like the school academically, but also like how the food is or what the social life is like. And then I also, how did I stay organized? Well, I was someone that was super busy senior year with like putting on a production and then also doing college apps. So I gave myself a free sixth, which was really, really good. And I highly recommend it because it gave me a time that I could be in the CCC and talk to Mr. On, talk to Ms. Hammond, whatever. And I let myself have specific days that were like, this is going to be a work day, this isn't going to be a work day, because it can get really overwhelming when you're always working on just college or just whatever else you're doing. So definitely like when you're thinking about your schedule, like a calendar was really helpful for me. I was like, this day I'm going to do this day I'm not going to do this. Um, and yeah, also I went to a lot of the college presentations that were in the CCC, and I talked to a ton of people and overstressed, but it all works out if you keep yourself organized and do like all the things that Mr. On has been saying.
Gabe, you want to go ahead?
Hi everybody. Yeah, definitely just echoing a lot of what everybody else said. I think for me, it was really helpful putting things on a calendar, especially on my Google Calendar, my virtual calendar, so that I would get reminders like, hey, so and so, such and such is due in 2 weeks. That helped me a lot. I think in terms of exposure to the college itself, apart from actually going there, definitely the CCC college presentations are a really big thing that you guys should absolutely take advantage of. I went to a couple presentations, college presentations outside of VHS, and they were informative, but I learned, like they told me the same things that I would hear in the CCC presentations, except outside school, it would be in like a big hall of people, so I wouldn't be able to actually go up and ask questions. CCC presentations, they're often pretty small. They're often like usually like several of the ones that I went to, it was they clustered a bunch of tables together, and it was just a big group of seniors sitting around the table with the admissions officer, and you could ask them like pretty much any direct questions that you had. Let's see. I think here's what you should not do, and is what I did is don't touch your essays until mid-August, because I was so sure like at the beginning of summer that I was like, okay, I'm gonna have it all done by the end of summer. I had my Google Drive set up, I had the prompts, and then I left it alone and I did not come back to it until August. Don't do that. Get as much as you can done over the summer. Your counselors, they're on break, but they're there for you. Your friends are there for you. You can ask your parents to revise them and see, think about what are things you want to write about. I think the prompts, and yeah, the Common App doesn't open until August, but the prompts are online. And same with the UC prompts. I think they're, Mr. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but are they the same ones as last year, the UC essay prompts? Yeah. So take a look at those, get an idea about what you might want to write about, and then over the summer, really start fleshing it out so that you have a really good foundation when you come into your senior year. Because first semester of senior year is, I'm going to be honest, it's a nightmare. But more on that later.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that 2 webinars from now. We're going to host like a senior panel called Surviving/Thriving Senior Year at Berkeley High. Last but not least, Kiana, what you got to say about all this?
Draft of my Common App before my junior year ended because my English teacher made an assignment and that was actually super helpful for me. Am I muted? No.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So that was really helpful. And then over the summer, I did my UC apps because I had a lot of time. And then I did some of my supplementals, but I was like over it and kind of just over it. So then I did most of my supplementals like the first month when school got back. And I thought like this organization and like planning was really helpful for me because I was not stressed out my first semester at all. Like I was just living life. It was pretty fun. Yeah.
You stress about other things.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, wait, I just want to say real quick, since we have a couple of seniors here, coronavirus thing, the worst end of it. So I just want to say sorry to you guys about the end of the year, but thank you for still giving back and being part of this panel. We love you guys. And super sad because all four of these seniors are actually not staying local. They're gonna just explode and go out into the bigger world. So keep in touch. And also, I know that you all are the type to accept or welcome juniors who have questions, right? So would you guys be okay with leaving your email in the comment section if any of them have, if any of them have questions from a student perspective? All right, so we'll go ahead and let the seniors do their thing. Thanks for giving up your time. And then for the next slide, I want to say like,